In the news tonight, fallen general honored as hero to be finally laid to rest in Kazo district.
Dying at 68, he was still young, but he had achieved a lot.
You find programs that are, good, well-intended programs, but in the process of implementation, we don't do a good job.
Local Government Committee of Parliament pokes holes in parish development model, program bound for failure. Also tonight, motorists given guidelines on how to pay fines under the express penalty scheme. And in sports, Tanzania national team coach Kim Paulson shown to the exit after harrowing loss to Uganda in Chan. Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to CTV. This is a PM edition. I'm Bernadette Pio, our sign language interpreter, Isaac Luchamuzi. Thank you so much for having us on tonight. In our top story tonight, President Yoweri Museveni has hailed General Eli Tumwine as courageous for the role he played in the fight to liberate Uganda. At the memorial service held today at Kololo Independence Grounds, General Tumwine was recognized and remembered for firing the first bullet by the National Resistance Movement at Kabamba Barracks.
The body of the late General Eli Tumwine was this morning taken to Kololo ceremonial grounds for a special service and prayers, which were led by All Saints Church Cathedral. Shortly after, the Commander-in-Chief of the Uganda People's Defense Forces and President of Uganda, General Yoweri Museveni, arrived to honor his former bushwalk comrade as the chief mourner. President Yoweri Museveni was quick to lay his wreath in our tribute. His service today was led by the retired Bishop of North Kigezi, Edward Muima, who in his sermon urged people to leave a good legacy.
General Eli Tumwine, I knew as a Christian soldier, was a tough-minded soldier, but tender-hearted as a Christian, a born-again Christian, who would challenge evil uncompromisingly, but at the same time had love and a heart for those who would disagree with him, and would accommodate them in his heart.
He also warned against abusing the integrity of the fallen general on social media.
So those who appreciate General Eli Tumwine, I ask us to forgive those who have rejoiced at his death, for they didn't know him.
In his speech, the President of Uganda condemned people who have continued to insult the late General Eli Tumwine.
To give this little testimony on General Tumwine, dying at 68,
Museveni urged the church to encourage Ugandans to work towards prosperity.
A lot. And I'm very happy to hear people saying that he died a satisfied man. That's what Enos is the one who was saying that. Always avoid evil.
Museveni urged the church to encourage Ugandans to work towards prosperity.
These three must be captured. Eternity through children, eternity through development, eternity through actions, good acts. Then also value addition.
The Chief of Defense Forces, General Wilson Badi, acknowledged General Tumwine as one of the key pillars the army has lost and revealed that the family will access all his required benefits.
We shall deal with the family to guide them on how to access their entitled survivor benefits.
Personally, as an NRM cadre who desires and aspires to move Uganda forward through NRM agenda, I shall never forget where the NRA has brought this country and shall remain indebted to the contributions of the likes of Honorable General L. Tumwini.
Parliament, hold on. That's for CDF alone.
The function was graced by several dignitaries, including the Speaker of Parliament, the Chief Justice of Uganda, the Second Deputy Prime Minister, and other cabinet ministers. Tumwine will be laid to rest on Tuesday 30th in his home district of Kazo. Safi, Mokele Baluku and Chris Semale Musemakula for CTV, PM Edition.
May his soul rest in eternal peace. Relatedly, family, relatives and friends of the late General Eli Tumwine have eulogized the former army commander and former minister for security as exemplary, hardworking and an honest man. The remarks were made during the special prayers held today to honor the fallen general.
At the special prayers held today to honor the fallen General Eli Tumwine, the cause of his death was revealed. A medical report from Dr. Abrahams Omoding of Uganda Cancer Institute confirmed that the general died of lung cancer.
It took us a back and forth conversation with him until eventually in June 2021, he accepted to undergo that procedure. We successfully did a lung biopsy along with a bone marrow biopsy at the Cancer Institute. The analysis thereafter confirmed that it was actually lung cancer.
Cathedral Kampala to hand over this money to the family.
It was also revealed that the last 2 years saw General Tumwine battle cancer with signs of cough, which even led to a loss of 10 kilograms. Today, family members and friends of late General Eli Tumwine praised him for his good deeds and his contribution to the nation.
1, for the world end in victory. 2, to be among the lucky ones to see the victory. And 3, for God to give them a family and children. God granted him all the 3. We are blessed with children.
You always said peace was the most immeasurable thing, and you always greeted people by saying, peace be with you.
He was one of a kind. He was unapologetically himself, unique in expression, passion, and values. He was a teacher, always happy to share his passions with all the people he interacted with. From the smallest to the biggest, he did not segregate.
Other comrades called him an ambassador of peace for peace.
Dreams, he had aspirations, he has achieved some. Human beings don't achieve everything.
Even to the end, he did not forsake us. Even to this very moment, he has not forsaken us. We had our own motto during this time. It was something we learned during one of our many morning devotionals. God is with us, and God is working.
General Eli Tumwine will be laid to rest tomorrow at his ancestral ground, Remi Corner in Kazo District. The file was compiled by Chris Semalemu Semakula for CTV, PM Edition.
Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. The late General Eli Tumwine will be buried in Kazo District. Let's show you some images of in Kazo District where his body arrived earlier on today.
N'urusozi rwa boburebereza we umunsi kutaho miliyoni 12 ngwengire kumwe bwo mwaka burebere urusozi rwa barigenzire ku nkaranga
May his soul rest in eternal peace. Turning your attention now to the August House. According to the Parliament Local Government Committee, Government's Poverty Eradication Program, the parish development model is set to fail as per their research findings. The committee report faults government for lack of clear implementation policies.
The highly publicized and anticipated parish development model by government was expected to be the leading driver into wealth creation for many Ugandans, especially those living in abstract poverty. The model focuses on poverty eradication alongside other programs like the Myoga and NADS.
There should be need to promote equity and inclusivity. Government needs a clear, equitable allocation formula for funds under the PDM that takes into consideration the different demographic, geographical, and socio-economic dynamics.
According to the chairperson of the local government committee, who is also the Aringa North County Member of Parliament, Godfrey Onzima, the system is likely to cripple the progress of the project.
Pillar number 5 on mindset change and cross-cutting issues, which will aid to prepare citizens and clarify upcoming concerns before funds are subbursed into being given priority. The committee further observed that the parish development model may suffer the same fate as planned for modernization of agriculture, where more emphasis were put on Pillar 2, that's NADS.
The report says although the model was based on 7 pillars, only one has been so far funded.
Budget for parish development model activities under ministries, departments and agencies remain unfunded priorities in the budget framework paper for financial year 2022-2023.
So you find programs that are, good, well-intended programs, but in the process of implementation, we don't do a good job. And so we are likely to have a repeat of what we have had with youth livelihood, with web and other programs.
All these pillars that are not funded are the core on how somebody should get rich. But then they are starting with the last part of giving somebody money. Giving somebody capital is the last thing of what should be done to get money.
Some members of parliament now want the parish development model program halted until clear guidelines are established.
You are going to give 100 million to an area that has very unique businesses. and you are giving to a rural area the same amount, I think we are not being considerate, looking at the nature of enterprises.
Each parish was earmarked to receive 100 million Uganda shillings per parish, but only 8,000 parishes have so far received their funds this year. Ramson Mhire, CTV PM Edition.
Thank you, Ramson. Now, the Prime Minister Robina Nabanja has held a planning meeting with leaders in Kayunga district to come up with strategies to streamline service delivery in the area. Nabanja, who had gone to Kayunga to inspect the progress at Isimba Hydropower Dam, met the leaders at Namagabi Secondary School in Kayunga Town Council.
The leaders, who included members of parliament, political leaders, heads of department, head teachers of government-aided schools, among others, briefed the Prime Minister on the challenges they are facing when it comes to service delivery.
Kayunga district is a district where they have never recruited the extension staff. The extension staff are volunteering. And this one becomes a challenge now on the implementation of the parish development model.
Coding of Nakitokolo Primary School, the newly constructed school in Nakitokolo Parish, as the policy demands. Staff quarters across the district remains a challenge.
Allow me to report to him through you that Kitimbwa Town Council has no any secondary school, contrary to the manifesto of NRM, where every sub-county must be a secondary school.
State Minister for Finance Amos Lugolobi told leaders that government, through the monetary fiscal policy, could not release all funds for the first quarters from July to September to address inflation.
Issues.
We have faced challenges that have affected the flow of cash. We have to implement the fiscal policy to curb inflation.
Fiscal policy ezokukendeeza expenditure ensaasaanya okusobola controlling inflationary pressure ebadde mu ggwanga.
The other ministers included Dr. Chrysostom Muyingo, State Minister for Higher Education, and Alice Kaboyo, in charge of Luwe Renzori, asked the people of Kayunga to be united.
As leaders, we have to work together.
I would like to thank the people of Kayunga for helping us implement the government policies on education.
The Prime Minister asked the people of Kayunga to put aside their political differences and serve the people who voted them into leadership positions. She appealed to parents and leaders to address the challenges of school dropouts in the area.
Minister, we want to start a crusade to address the issue of school dropout rates, which is now prevalent.
During her visit to Kayunga, the Prime Minister has tried to address the long-standing differences in the region, including healthy service delivery.
That story takes us in for a short break. More when we return. Stay with us.
involved in the altercation.
While addressing journalists today at the weekly security briefing at the headquarters, police publicist Fred Enanga urged the public to refrain from taking matters in their own hands. He also urged motorists to stop acts of impunity along the roads.
Such acts of impunity and lawlessness are not accepted on major roads and highways. There's a rule of law in this country that really needs to be followed, so we cannot allow for these acts of impunity to continue.
On the police crackdown, it aimed at vehicle owners and motorists who have to pay fines under the Express Penalty Scheme, EPS. Traffic Police spokesperson Farida Nampima revealed that they continue with the operation.
The Directorate has set up a complaint desk that is manned 24/7 in room 73, third floor. That's where the traffic headquarters are at Natete Police Station. We encourage the general public to use the self-help method to establish whether one's vehicle has pending EPS tickets, since this week 2 operations are continuing.
Farida Nampima today also showed ways members of the public can pay and acquire the EPS ticket before urging school owners to take school vehicles for inspection.
How to check if you have an EPS ticket on your car? You will download the UPF Mobi from your app store on your phone, but you must enter the number plate exactly the way it's written on your vehicle. Don't write your number plate as a word. Copy the number plate the way it's written on the car. It's the way you should enter it in the Mobi app to get the right results.
Over the past 1 week, traffic officers have arrested over 1,000 ticket defaulters, while others have been ordered to pay EPS penalty arrears in the bank and provide proof before getting their vehicles back. Hope Nyongereza, CTV, PM edition.
Thank you, Hope, for that report. Now, in news from the region, former President of Angola, Jose Eduardo dos Santos, has finally been laid to rest. And in Libya, fighting has continued to commence with more than 30 people in clashes.
Angola's former strongman, President Jose Eduardo dos Santos, whose nearly 4-decade rule of the oil-rich nation was marred by allegations of plunder and nepotism, was laid to rest amid a family row. The funeral, which was disputed by some of his children, was held at the historic palm tree-lined Praca da Repubblica in the seaside capital Luanda on what would have been Dos Santos' 80th birthday. It comes days after his party, the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, which has ruled the country for nearly half a century, saw its worst results at the polls in the most hotly contested elections since independence. Dos Santos, who died last month following a cardiac arrest, will be remembered as a statesman and devoted Pan-Africanist. Namibia's ex-president Sam Nujoma, aged 93, told the hundreds of mourners in attendance. A choir sang dirges while flags flew at half-mast around the square, which houses an imposing concrete mausoleum where the country's founding president, Agostinho Neto, is interred. Dignitaries including South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi, and Portugal's President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa filled rows of white and gold seats. Joacina dos Santos, the late leader's daughter, sobbed while recalling her father's love for music. During Angola's war for independence, the young Zedu, as he was called, began his career as a revolutionary by recording LPs that encouraged the fight against colonizer Portugal while he took refuge in the neighboring DRC, she said. A representative of his foundation collapsed in the middle of his eulogy. A 21-gun salute rung as a portrait of Dos Santos was carried ahead of the coffin, supported by military-clad pallbearers in a slow procession to the mausoleum where he was laid to rest. Dos Santos was referred to by many, particularly MPLA members, as the architect of peace, who brought democracy and multi-party politics to the country. On the streets of Luanda, some people were more crucial of his legacy. Dos Santos led the country from 1979 to 2017 under the MPLA banner, which saw its worst performance in this week's election. Following Saturday's deadly clashes that took place in the Libyan capital, Tripoli, the Prime Minister of the Tripoli-based government, Abdul Hamid Deiba, stressed the need for elections. Militias patrolled nearly deserted streets in Libya's capital Sunday, a day after clashes killed over 30 people and ended Tripoli's months-long stretch of relative calm. The fighting broke out early Saturday and pitted militias loyal to the Tripoli-based government against other armed groups allied with a rival administration that has for months sought to be seated in the capital. Residents fear the fighting that capped a months-long political deadlock could explode into a wider war and a return to the peaks of Libya's long-running conflict. Libya has plunged into chaos since a NATO-backed uprising toppled and killed longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. The oil-rich country has for years been split between rival administrations, each backed by rogue militias and foreign governments. The current stalemate grew out of the failure to hold elections in December and Libya's refusal to step down. In response, the country's East-based parliament appointed a rival Prime Minister, Fatih Bashagha, who has for months sought to install his government in Tripoli. Kevin Kasoma, CTV PM Edition.
On the international scene, Pakistan pleads for international help as parts of the country resemble a small ocean. And in the Middle East, violent clashes erupt in Baghdad's green zone after a powerful cleric announces withdrawal from politics.
Pakistan calls it a climate-induced humanitarian crisis of massive proportions as over 30 million people are affected by the unprecedented floods that hit the country. The country that has a population of over 220 million has seen over 1,000 people killed and another 30 million people affected by the floods. A national emergency has been declared following the heavy rains that have continued to flash out over 30 districts. The Prime Minister for Climate Change, Senator Sherry Raymond, says it's the worst flood that the country has seen in recent memory. Rivers are seen leveling out in two large flat plains, making it look like an ocean. These floods have by far suppressed the floods that hit Pakistan in 2010. A number of affected people have, however, not yet gotten help due to the fact that the floods have flushed out all major railways and roads, making it hard for the rescue teams to access them. However, the government has been able to reach some areas like the southwestern Pakistan city of Quetta that has been heavily affected by the floods. The Navy has been deployed as well in order to help out fasten the rescue effort. Climate activists have, however, blamed the floods on climate change and heavy environmental degradation. They also blame the government for allowing developers carry on with projects that later go on to affect the environment in the long run. The current floods go on to make Pakistan the fifth victim of climate change in the world. Following the announcement of withdrawal from politics by the powerful Iraq Shia cleric Moqda al-Shadda on Monday, violent clashes erupted inside Baghdad's heavily fortified green zone. Hundreds of protesters stormed Iraq's Republican Palace inside the zone following the announcement. The Republican Palace is where the Iraqi cabinet sits, and Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kahadimi has now suspended all meetings of his government until further notice. According to a statement released by his office, the Prime Minister has urged al-Shaddad to help call on the demonstrators to withdraw from government institutions. The country's President Barham Salih also urged calm, saying in a statement on Monday that the difficult circumstance that our country is going through requires everyone to abide by calm, restrain, prevent escalation, and ensure that the situation does not slip into unknown and dangerous labors in which everyone will lose. Al-Shaddad said he had made a decision 2 months ago not to interfere in political affairs, but he was now announcing his final retirement from politics and shutting down all his political offices across the country, according to a statement released by his office on Monday. The announcement came after weeks of tension and protests that were sparked by al-Shaddad's decision in June to order his entire political bloc to withdraw from the Iraqi parliament in an apparent show of force after months of political stalemate. The military declared a full curfew, including on vehicles and pedestrians, starting from 3:30 p.m. local time in the capital city and 7 p.m. local time in the rest of the country. The curfew will be in place until further notice, according to a military statement. The United Nations Assistance Mission in Iraq, UNAMI, has also urged protesters leave governmental buildings and to allow the government to continue its responsibilities of running the state for the Iraqi people. Kevin Kasoma, CTV, PM Edition.
PM Edition takes another short break. Stay with us. Sports is up next.
Do you love me?
Very much. I'll catch you one day. Pants down. I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy.
Nico? If I had to live everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up?
The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be alive again.
I will break you, Spooky. Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. You're so blind!